Party people, welcome back to my channel. We are going right into the project with this one. I will quickly introduce you to my project and talk about what we're making in a little bit. But when I had first started working on this project, I had left myself room to do an intro, and then I did an ink blend that I hated. So we are going back to the drawing board with this. The original ink blend that I had done is what you see on that tiny little rectangle. That's weathered wood into Stormy Sky into faded jeans. And I had done that on a larger 5x8 panel, and I didn't like it. So I decided to reevaluate my color choice and start over. So what I'm doing here is using Distress Oxides, and I'm blending. I wanted to blend kind of like a rainbow arch, and you'll see why when you see what I'm working with. But I kind of wanted to do like a rainbow arch type thing. So I started with Tumbled Glass, and then I went into faded jeans first. So I actually did this one wrong, but I just didn't want to do it over. But I was supposed to do Tumbled Glass into Stormy Sky into faded jeans, but my faded jeans was what was in front of me instead of my Stormy Sky. So I went Tumbled Glass into Stormy Sky. No, Tumbled Glass into faded jeans, and then I realized that I missed Stormy Sky, and I go back in and I add the Stormy Sky. But you guys get to watch me play with my blending brushes and do some ink blending while I introduce you to this project. So, I am making something. This is where I realized, by the way, that I used the wrong ink color. Do you see me checking that in real time when I realized that I used the darkest shade in my medium tone? This is literally real life, you guys. This is what real life crafting looks like. But I am super excited to announce to you guys that I'm on the Kerri Bradford design team. If you've been around these parts for any length of time, you know I have a huge love affair with Kerri Bradford and her stamps. I love her, and I love her heart, and I love her stamps so much. So when she asked me if I wanted to design for her, I was like this is not even a real question. Like, I love your stuff. Of course I'll design for you. So here's my first project for the Kerri Bradford design team. And you see, now I'm going back, and I'm trying to fix my ink blend. And for a second, I contemplated throwing it out and starting over, but this is also the third panel that I had worked on for this particular project, and I thought the blends looked pretty seamless, even though it was supposed to go Tumbled Glass into Stormy Sky into faded jeans, and that's not actually what happened. I still thought it looked pretty seamless. So I am using my scrapbook.com nested tag dies with my Sizzix Sidekick machine. This Sidekick machine is like my favorite thing in my craft area right now because I love using tags on my projects. But I don't like pulling out my big shot, so the Sidekick can cut 2.5 inches wide, so it's like perfect. And now, you guys, we're literally going to play with my Misti for the rest of this video because I decided that since the September releases were so great, I was just going to do a layered stamping technique on the right side of my page. So I'm working in my Citrus Twist Life Crafted album, which is a 5x8 album, and I just decided that I was just going to do a bunch of stamping. So the first thing I did was stamp Noah's name using the Jordan Alpha. So the stamps releases this time that I'm using are the Jordan Alpha Small, and then there's a stamp, I think it's called Hello Baby. I probably should have had this in front of me so I could have told you. But it's a stamp set all about like the little ones in our lives. So I went ahead and I first stamped the word Noah. That's Noah's name. And then I decided to use some Distress Embossing Glazes. So I really am a fan of the embossing glazes because, one, they're super pigmented. They're the color palette that we already know and love. They're also translucent when they dry, so you can stamp underneath them and then emboss on top of them, and you can still see the stamping through them. But they're just a really fun medium, and they're a fun alternative to embossing powder. I do not enjoy embossing powder, but I actually really enjoy these embossing glazes. So I just used Broken China to stamp Noah's name, and now we're just going to work on building my cluster. So I don't know, I've seen it like Heba at My Little Journal, if you're not already following her. I've seen her do similar things like this where she just layers stamps, and she's super intuitive about it. I think she just goes for it, but when I do this, I kind of have to check everything, which is why I'm using my Misti, because then I can put things down, rearrange them, make sure they work where I want them. Also, my black archival ink is super dry, so I had to stamp these stamps like 4 or 5 times to get them dark enough, and that's just because my archival ink is dry. I'm using archival versus like a hybrid ink or anything on this page because I already have the Distress Oxides on the background. And I was messing around with the idea of throwing water droplets on it, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to have a permanent ink. So far, I've stamped Goodnight Sleep Tight next to Noah's name. I have Sweet Little Face. There's this stamp that says 0 through 12, and it says months underneath it. And then I've also stamped Love You Today and Every Day. And now there are these super cute little bear stamps. It's like a mama bear and a baby. Guys, also, if you didn't know, I don't think I've shown you the photo, but I'm scrapbooking a photo of Noah and my sister Ebony, like, the day after Noah was born. I took so many pictures of my sister when she was in the hospital. She's probably sick of me. So I have a photo of my sister taking a nap while she was holding Noah, who was also taking a nap, and I was watching them like the creep that I am. So I love this mama bear and this baby bear stamp together. So again, I pulled out my embossing glazes again. I stamped them I embossed them using the Speckled egg embossing glaze, and I'm just quickly setting it with my heat tool. I will link everything in the description box like normal if you're interested in the colors that I'm using, or if you're interested in the heat tool or anything else. Everything will be linked in the description box, as well as a link to Kerri Bradford's shop, so you can shop this release if you are interested in grabbing something. So the other stamp set I'm using is the Jordan numbers. And again, if you've been here for any stretch of time, you know that I have a huge thing with numbers. Like, numbers are 100% my jam. So I decided to stamp these in the distress inks that I used for my ink blending. So I'm using Faded Jeans. And I just stamped them twice because these are new stamps, and I like to just stamp them twice to make sure that I get a good impression. But you can stamp with the Distress Oxides, and especially with like stamps that are not like super detailed like this one, you get really good impressions with them. So I'm just stamping 6/29, which is Noah's birthday. And after looking at this again, I realized that right underneath the number stamp and next to the baby bear and the mama bear, there's some empty space. So I pulled out the rainbow. There's this really fun layered rainbow in the stamp set. It's 3 arches, we're going to call them. It's 3 arches. So again, just using the same distress inks that I've already done my ink blending in, I just decided to pull them out and stamp my rainbow. So I stamped Faded Jeans for the darkest bow, and then I pulled out Weathered Wood instead of using Stormy Sky, because I had already used Weathered Wood on that tag, and I wanted to make sure I included that color somewhere else in the project. So stamping that middle bow with Weathered Wood, and then I used Tumbled Glass to stamp the smallest bow. And I stamped each of them twice just to make sure that I'm getting, again, good saturation, good ink coverage with new stamps, especially since I didn't prime these. Normally I prime my stamps on the back of my hand, but today I was feeling like kind of reckless, and I just put them right in my Misti and went for it. So I just chose to stamp them more than once to make sure that I was going to get a good impression. And pretty much, I think I add one more stamp set to this, and that is my cluster. And I really, really like how that came out. I like all the blue tones. Like, this is as close to monochromatic as like it gets for me. I'm normally not someone who does things that are all one hue. Like, you guys know rainbow is my favorite color, but I got to play with a rainbow of blues on this page. I mean, that's what it felt like. Like, I felt like I have a rainbow blue, so it doesn't feel very monochromatic. And then right across the top, I just stamped the word loved using my black Archival ink. I'm using a paper towel to press down on my Misti. This is something I learned from Kathy Zilski. She uses a Swiffer cloth. I just use a paper towel, but it kind of helps you get like good even coverage when you're closing your Misti door. So that's what you see me using. And now I've pulled out my tag, and I'm going to do some embossing. Again, you guys, I was like really feeling myself with this embossing, and embossing and I are not friends. So part of the reason why I'm like pushing the envelope and like pushing boundaries right now is because we're going into December daily season, and I'm practicing embossing so that when I pull it out in December, I'm not like completely failing at it. So I'm learning new things as I go. So this time I showed you, I did prep my page with an anti-static powder tool. I prepped my big panel with the anti-static powder tool also. I just forgot to show you guys. But I prepped it with an anti-static powder tool. I'm stamping with Ranger Clear embossing ink. I'm not sure if this is my favorite embossing ink. I might go back to Versamark, which is what I used to use. And then I'm using Ranger Superfine White. I think it's like the Superfine White embossing powder, just to emboss the word joy. So I used the small Jordan alphabet as well as another stamp from that baby stamp set, and the sentiment says worth it all, and then I stamped it next to the word joy, quickly heat setting that again. This time I pulled out my tweezers because I nearly burned my fingers off like a few times when I was heat setting his name and heat setting that mama and that baby bear. So I pulled out my tweezers, and now we're just working on arranging the layout. So I quickly punched holes in my tag using my power punch, and I put a little bit of white ribbon through that tag. I'm not doing any journaling on this page because I think that stamp set says enough. I've also done lots of journaling about my sister and Noah being born on other pages, and I just wanted to make something fun and pretty. So quickly here, I'm punching holes in with my 6-hole punch. This is my favorite hole punch for any six ring album. I love that this works for like the Ali Edwards album, Studio Calico albums, and the Citrus Twist albums. It's a great 6-hole punch. And then I'm going to grab my tape runner. I disappeared for a second, but I'm going to grab my tape runner and quickly adhere that tag down to the photo of Noah and Ebony just kind of hanging out in the hospital bed. And then from here, I pull out some chipboard. So I recently subscribed to the Studio Calico Color Theory kit, and the Color Theory kit this month were rainbow, see? How delicious. The Color Theory kit this time around were rainbow chipboard stars, which like literally is my love language. That is rainbow, it's chipboard, and it's stars. Like I can't ask for anything else. So I scattered a few of the chipboard stars. There was a navy and then a kind of like light teal color, which worked perfectly for my spread. So I added a few chipboard stars around the page, and that calls this one done, you guys. It was really fun to play with stamping, to play with the embossing glazes, to use these new Kerri Bradford stamps, and just kind of stretch my creativity a little bit. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this and if you'll be shopping from the Kerri Bradford release. Don't forget to follow her on Instagram so you never, ever miss a release, and I cannot wait to show you what I'm going to be making with her stamps going forward. So that's all I have for you today. Till next time, keep your crafting. Have the very best day, and I will see you around. Bye!